Listen up, you snotty kids! It's MorganTawdry the Third, and I'm back to give you some inspirational wisdom. You sit there and you think you're depressed, you got your smartphone and you look at it 18, 19 hours a day, and you think that's life. Yeah, you think that's life, and you're saying, oh my God, I'm living in the worst country in the world, America. Oh, if I could only get out of America. You want to know about my life? I had a family and we lived in a one cold water flat with 7 children, and we got one fish and chips to eat, and we had to share it with the children and the parents. You think you've got it bad? You don't know bad. Oh, we've got Donald Trump now. We're so scared. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen. Fess up to it and be a man and a woman about these things. This is life. My parents fought in World War II. My mother drove an ambulance, and my father was a nurse. And they came through it all right, little traumatized. Sometimes Dad was drinking a lot of brew at night, but they got through it and they raised 7 children. I want to tell you, you sit there with your smartphones waiting for the new video game to come out, or you're looking at Only My Fans. Oh, I think that girl loves me. Oh, I think that man loves me. You're paying for something that's not even real. And back in my day, we had a girlfriend or a proper boyfriend, and we got on with it. What do you kids know? Making love to AI? No. And if you're depressed, I have some answers. I had a friend named Bernard Tweezer Quowell, and he got me a job once in the Manchester Odeon. And although I liked my dear friend Keith Moon with The Who, and I liked Black Sabbath, and I liked the Kinks, Reed Davies, what a brilliant British genius. But then when I got the job at the Manchester Odeon, there were these bands coming in, and I thought they were fairies. They wore boots and weird beards around their necks, and they were like The Who. The Who? They were not like The Who. Oh, Keith Moon, please forgive me. They were not The Who. They were groups like Yes and Genesis and Jethro Tull. They were singing about fairies, and they were singing about other worlds, and none of my mates could relate to that. But I had to clean the seats and make sure there were no cigarette butts or liquids on the chairs. And I'll tell you one thing, I learned to respect and love their music because it uplifted the spirit for us working class kids in England. This music was uplifting, uplifting, uplifting. And with the proper dosage of certain medicinals, we thought we saw heaven. Can you boast that, young children? With your Taylor Swifts, your Billie Eilishes, and your Brandy Carlisles? Not to mention Kanye West, who never proper had a religious experience that was spiritual and uplifting. Where are you? Well, anyway, I want to tell you, if you want to get on with your life without Prozac and going to an analyst when you're 13 years old and saying my life stinks, oh my God, we have Trump for our president. What can we do? God save us. What can we do? Well, let me tell you, we had a queen, and I think she was even meaner than Donald Trump. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. But Charlie is quite a nice young king. Charlie, we love you. Well, anyway, I want to tell you about some bands I learned about. I told you about those progressive rock bands that I learned to love, even though sometimes they were boots, and a lot of my friends from Manchester and Birmingham called them fairies. Well, they were great and they uplifted our spirits, got us through some rough, naughty, rotten times. So I want to tell you about a couple bands I've learned about and I'm learning to enjoy. What do you think of that? And I'm like 74 years old. I'm losing teeth and I have a bit of a drinking problem. Don't tell your mother. Anyway, I've heard about pattern-seeking animals, friend to all creatures, and I listened to some of their tracks and it's great. And then I heard the Underfall Yard with David Longden and Big Train. Oh, I love trains. Locomotive Breath. Charlie stole the handle, and that train just won't stop running. Ian Understone and his buddies, Jethro Tull. Oh boy, what a band, man. When they played, man, there was so much candy on the floor from people being excited, knocking over their popcorn. That to me is a band. And beer spilled all over the floor and the Manchester Odeon. That to me was a band. And then we have Echo Lynn, a new band I learned about that had an album called As the World. Would you believe it? A British prog rock sounding band that comes from Pennsylvania, USA? I never heard of such a thing. It's an anomaly in old world culture. But they really rock and they're really very British in their, the British feeling. All right, enough about them now. Flower Power by Roy Nestelt and the Flower Kings. There's a proper Swedish band that learned everything they could from John Henderson and Yes. Okay? And I've learned to like them. They got me through some very bad times with my landlord. Don't let me tell you about how I'm a squatter. And though it looks like I'm in a decent apartment here of 2 rooms, I got broken windows with cardboard. I'm a squatter. One more. To Follow Pilatus by a proper mate from the Cumbria area of northern England named Andy Tillotson and his group The Tangent. These guys are the epitome of what I heard back in the early 70s with all the great British prog rockers that you Americans will never, ever, ever be greater than, except for maybe Elvis and Buddy Holly. That's a little joke with me and my family. Okay, now, if I didn't give you enough to be properly inspired to live a proper life, even if you're down on your luck like me, MorganTawdry III. Curious Ruminant by Ian Anderson and Jethro Tull. The old man's back at it, the Scotsman with the salmon farm. He's got a great new rocket and the guy is, wow, almost bald, but that has nothing to do with making great music to keep you inspired and alive. Well, I hope you have found this interesting. And if not, sod off. I didn't ask for you whippersnappers to come here. My life is hard enough and I'm trying to make it nice for you. Give a bagel to a homeless woman, eh? And for me, I've got my Thomas's English muffin bagel with Marmite. Dig it, baby!